Okay, so now that we've run through our trigger point series to mobilize our posterior chain, what we're going to work on is our mobility sequence using some stretches, featuring some techniques like PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, and other things that are going to help lengthen our posterior chain to get us into that strong hinge position. The first thing we're going to use is a strap for a strap stretch. Now, the benefit of a lot of these that you'll go through in this serial, it can be done with little equipment, and they're all advanced levels on top of each other, so you can progress and regress as you need depending on your level. So first up, we're going to need our strap here, and we're going to come onto our back, simply looping that band, or we can even use a belt, anything we have. We're going to extend our leg, and we're going to lay back onto our back here. Now, the trick is to pull into the stretch to a point where you can feel the stretch, but it doesn't feel painful or wind you up. So the moment we start to compensate either by opening this hip, so our toes coming open on this down leg, we've probably gone too far. We need to back that off a little bit. So what we want to do is find that comfortable stretch and pull in, and we're simply going to hold. Now, this can be done for 2 to 3 minutes or until we feel that muscle lengthening or that posterior chain on that up leg lengthening, and we should be able to pull further and further in as we get more comfortable, making sure knees are locked and those toes don't turn out on that bottom leg. The next stage to this is a simple leg lower. Now, we're in the same position, and the idea is bracing, raising that down leg to the leg we have raised, and returning to the floor with that comfortable tap on the ground. So don't let that leg slap onto the floor, just simple tap and return to that top position. Now, a good little hack, if we have horrible mobility on that posterior chain, we can use a block or a foam roller to make that a little bit easier. So, legs up on the foam roller, we can hook that band, and then we have a raised position here. Now, this will help you get into position a little bit more comfortably if you struggle with hip extension or that posterior chain mobility to start with, and we can do the same stretches and leg lowering like so. So once we're comfortable, we simply remove the roller and we go back to that leg lowering in the full version. Now, a couple of variations we can do if we have the weights or the equipment at hand is our kettlebell leg lower, which adds an element of trunk stability and maintaining that midline when we're doing our leg lower. So we can simply get a dumbbell or a kettlebell, holding that above our chest or our head. The further it goes away from the body, the harder it is, and we can do our leg lowers from there. And we change sides, and adding the element of this load allows you to switch on that midsection and should hopefully allow you to increase the range of your leg raise. The third one is using a doorway. Now, this is a really useful bit of kit because we've all got doors at home, and allows you to elevate the difficulty and increase the stretch as you gain competency through the movement. So we're going to use this rack here as our particular section. So here is our doorway, as you can see. You bring your foot up onto the edge of the doorway or the door frame, and you let the other leg go through the door. And we simply can repeat that process of that leg lower and the strap stretch as we need. Now, as we get more and more confident, we get closer to that door frame. And eventually, we want to be in a position where our bum's against the door frame and we're comfortably lowering and raising that leg with that gentle tap on the ground through the door. And the best thing about it, you can note your improvement by the closer you get to the door. Now, once we go through those static versions, we can add some neural flossing to our skills to help lengthen that hamstring and increase that range of motion. Now, same position as a leg lower. We're simply going to come in to this start position. Now, from here, we're going to kick low once, kick about a medium height on the second kick, and then on the third kick through the heel, we're going to kick into the stretch. Then we're going to back that off, low, medium, and then into the stretch on the third, and repeat that as we go. Now that is a technique called PNF. That allows us to increase range by adding more load through the stretch as we go. So hopefully by the end of it, you should be able to kick a little bit higher than what you started in, and that will get length in the hamstring and the posterior chain to help you get into that hinge position a little bit more comfortably. Okay, so we've done a lot of ground-based work. How do we start integrating that into our standing position? Now we can use a simple dowel here, and we can go through some toe touch drills to allow us to start to integrate and stretch that posterior chain in that standing position. We can use a plank, we can use plates, we can use anything that we can raise our heels and our toes on. And our first position is standing up on that dowel and raising our toes off the ground. So once we're in this position, our feet are together, we're going to reach up, shift our weight to our heels and touch our toes. Now by adding more dorsiflexion here, and the higher the plank is or the raised surface, we're going to find it harder to load that posterior chain. But our toes are closer, so we can come through, repeat that about 10 times, shifting the weight to the heels. And once we've done that 10, we simply step over and add a heel raise. 10 reps. Once again, shifting the weight to the heels, touching the toes, and you should feel that range increase. Now, through the mobility and the trigger point work that we've done, and then our screen on our toe touch screen, I could touch my toes on my initial toe touch screen. Now, if we go back into a toe touch, I've almost got my palms to the floor. So we've increased range there. The next we're going to move on to is hip extension. Now, I'm in hip extension here. If we can't reach this position comfortably, we need to take some work to do it. Now we're going to use our rack here, and we're going to do what's called a couch stretch. Now this has been pretty popular, so you've probably seen this before. And we're simply going to bring our foot up, and we're going to walk our knee into the anchor position or closer to the wall or the rack or what we're using. We can even use our couch at home, aka the couch stretch, and we're going to stand up nice and tall. Now we're going to squeeze our bum, get full hip extension here so we're not pushed back and leaning forward, we're nice and tall, and we're simply going to squeeze our glutes and breathe here. By breathing and relaxing every breath out, we'll allow ourselves to relax through the hip and extend through the movement. So once we're here 2 minutes, we switch our sides, we go to the other side. Another way we can work on hip extension is our lunge hip activation. So we're going to take a big step forward, and we're going to bring that back leg off the ground, and we're going to be in full hip extension here. So the things I want you to think about is shoulder in line with ankle, that back ankle. And what we're going to do here is start by drawing some circles with our hip. And we can move into things where we're dropping our elbow to the floor. And we can even add a reach to help improve that thoracic mobility. So we're here, 2 to 3 minutes each side, switching our sides once we're done, and repeating that same sequence. Our final mobility stretch for our hinge pattern is using that PNF version, but in a standing position. So once we've started on the floor in the leg lower, the strap stretch, and the PNF with the band, we can also bring that into standing. So what we're going to do is grab that squat position. We're going to squat down and put our fingers under our toes. Now, most commonly, people will come into a rounded spine here, but the things we want to consider is sucking our shoulders to our hips and switching on our lats, so maintaining a big chest, and this will in turn restrict the range for our hammies and not our lower back like so. So by setting shoulders and pushing our glutes to the roof, we're isolating that posterior chain a little bit more effectively and letting the hamstrings lengthen and increase range through there. So there's your PNF version in standing. Jump through those mobility stretches as you go, see what works, and add them to your warm-up.